Hey everybody.
Hey.
Hey. How's it going? Oh, I like your hat. Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's cozy.
Welcome to my home. I'm Dr. Mark Hatala, and today we're going to be talking about birth order. And so maybe everybody could introduce themselves first.
I'll go first. I'm Annie.
I'm Zach.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Will.
And I'm Maddy.
Outstanding. So, Adler had some ideas about birth order, and he said that he broke people up into oldest and only, middlest, and youngest children. And he thought that there were personalities that were tied to those birth orders. And so I thought today we would talk a little bit about our individual birth orders and if we think that his personality theory is correct in our case. Mm-hmm. Who would like to? Well, maybe we should first do a vote on what everyone's birth order is.
So we know what we're at?
Where we're at. So oldest
Right.
or only? How many people are oldest or only? How many are middlest? And how many of us are youngest? Okay, so we have everybody represented. So do you guys feel that his theory is accurate about your personality based on your birth order?
I think I've got a little bit of a hot take. I kind of had two. Like, I consider myself an oldest because I've always kind of been on the oldest end of things.
Uh-huh.
But before I was 8, I was definitively the oldest because I was one of 2 and I had like my primary family unit.
Uh-huh.
But then my parents got divorced and got remarried and I got like a whole bunch of other siblings.
Sure,
through those
steps.
marriages. Yeah. So, like, the end of my growing up years, I was technically a middleist, but I still acted like an oldest.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I think that Adler's theory does have a little bit to it in the term of, like, you react with your environment and you adapt to what you're given. So, like, I feel like for oldest and only children, like, you have a different environment than a youngest or a middleist kid, and so you're going to respond differently and end up being a little different. But that it's not necessarily predictive of how you will end up because, well, in my case, like, it's not always stationary, it's not always something that stabilizes throughout your life, but also, like, you can have exceptions and like there are other environmental factors that I feel like
Sure.
can influence you as well.
So oldest of how many?
Currently 10.
10. Wow,
So.
that's a big family.
Yeah.
Well, you're an oldest also. Oldest of how many?
Just me and my sister.
Okay. Do you feel that it's accurate?
I agree with Ashley on that, where it's like, I think there's validity to it. I definitely think that birth order impacts, like, your behavior and attitude and whatnot. But I don't agree with a lot of what he was saying specifically, because I know he had mentioned older siblings are used to the attention, and then this younger sibling comes in, so they become overachievers.
Right.
And I actually think my sister's more of the overachiever than I am. Not that I don't, do the best I can, but I don't think I overachieve for attention.
Sure.
And I do wonder if part of that is maybe because me and my sister are separated by months. I mean, it's not...
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not like, I remember being 3 years old and not having a sister. I mean, I am all of a little over a year older than my sister. She's born in December of 98, I'm April of 97, so I don't remember a time without my sister. And I also think that it had mentioned that the younger sibling sometimes is more spoiled. And yeah, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I'd agree with that. I'm like, oh, of course she is. But I don't think that my parents do that. And I think a lot of that, too, with his theory also has to do with parenting. How do parents interact with their children? Because I think also, if for whatever reason they're just at more, odds and ends with some of the siblings, and it's just, I think that's a big thing too. It's just how parents react to the different kids, because sometimes.
Kids have different personalities,
right?
Too, so that affects it. Yeah.
And then sometimes too, like some kids are more like their parents than other ones, and I think sometimes that can form that different relationship as well, other than just birth order kind of thing.
Well, we'll revisit the spoiled when Maddy and I talk about being youngest. Zach, could you tell us about your experience as an oldest child?
I do think that my parents disciplined us differently
And I think I do care more about my like social status than my brother does. He doesn't really care about his reputation, Vincent, and you can change that. But I don't think I, at his age, was as mature as he is.
Sure.
I think he might actually grow up to be like smarter than I am.
Uh-oh.
Which would be...
That's hard to believe, though, because you're incredibly intelligent.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, let me ask everybody else about this then, too, because what Adler said is that, he said that the oldest child is the obsequious martinet, meaning that they're obsequious, meaning that they kiss the parents' butt and they make it like they're on the same team. And they're a martinet because they bully their younger siblings. So rather than ask the oldest siblings about that, we can talk to the middlest and youngest. So Annie, what do you think?
Oh yeah, listening to you guys talk, I was definitely in my head thinking about my own experiences. And I'm sure with like middle kids too, like the youngest and oldest have like their certain viewpoint on them. But thinking about older siblings based on mine, I'm the middle of 4, so I have a younger sister, and then I have an older brother and sister who are twins. So like, they're kind of both like first-born children, but it's a little bit different. But my older sister is definitely like a rule follower. She always like checks up on me. Like she's like the snitch of the family, essentially. And she's always talking to my mom about like what I'm doing, like what I'm going, like what's going on with me before I even get a chance to tell my mom or anything like that. And I'm just like, can I have this relationship with my mom? Like, do you have to be, you know, that?
She's your second mom.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I mean, we also have good times together and stuff. We have a good relationship. My older brother is definitely a lot more quieter though. Like my older sister takes on the role of like firstborn, even though my brother was technically the firstborn. He just kind of like sits and watches. Like he's a lot more chill.
Do you feel like your youngest sibling gets a lot of the attention?
No, honestly, I feel like it's my older sister who gets the most attention, but I think she's asking for it the most.
Sure.
She puts herself like in front of my mom and dad's eyes in order to be seen, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Like my little sister is pretty chill, but I mean right now she's the only one at home, so she's getting the most attention, obviously.
Oh,
but,
well, that would be true.
But speaking on middle children, I feel a lot of accuracies with Adler's theory in that like I feel like I'm very much a like, I just had the word, what?
Conciliator is the word he used.
Yeah, like a problem solver, like facilitator between, because I think I definitely have like the closest relationship with all of my siblings. And I feel more of like a connecting point. Like I know that sounds weird, but like I know my older brother and sister aren't as close with my little sister as I am. But I feel like I'm equally close to all of them.
Yeah. And he said they're like a mediator.
Yes.
And so the famous examples are Mohandas Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King were both middle children, and we're certainly about bringing people together.
Yeah, so I feel that a lot. And I was going to say one more thing, but I think I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay, we can come back to it too.
If I remember, I'll let you know.
No, we'll talk about the most important, the youngest children.
You know, obviously.
Yeah. No, how do you feel like, you're spoiled more? So Frank Soloway wrote a book called Born to Rebel, that youngest children are the most likely to rebel against their parents and the rules and all of that sort of thing. So that's not necessarily part of Adler's theory, but how do you feel as a youngest?
Well, so I almost resonate a little bit more with like the oldest because my brother was like the big like rebellious kid, and so like I saw his like rebellion and I saw like how that like was treated and I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not that stupid.
Sure.
So I think I learned a lot from his mistakes, and I'll agree, him as an older brother, he was definitely like the bully, the like whatever, like I got bullied by him a lot, but I think that made me stronger too. But I definitely did like act out whenever I wasn't getting like attention and stuff like that, especially whenever I was younger. And
can I ask you this too? My older brother has apologized to me for how he treated me when we were younger. Has your brother apologized to you yet or no?
my brother said that I deserved it. So no. But I I agree a little bit with like what Adler said, but also I think it just kind of depends on like what you said, like what kind of society you're raised in and what like your environment is, and like you turn out differently based on everything. So like for me, I saw my brother rebelling and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. Like I learned from his actions. So.
And it's just you and your brother?
Mm-hmm, yeah, he's the oldest and I'm the youngest.
Okay.
No in between. And we're like barely a year apart.
Okay.
We're barely 2 years apart. We're not 2 years apart. We're almost.
But he might say the same thing as well, that he can't remember a time without
I doubt that he can.
Yeah.
So.
I was going to say, I'm the youngest of three, and my sister's 14 years older. And so, therefore, that was really, like you were saying, that she was like a second mom. And still feels that way because she feels like she can order me around and tell me what I'm doing wrong all the time. And my brother's 4 years older, and he was absolutely a bully. But we're close now that we're all older. So, yeah, go ahead, Ashley, please.
I feel like the big thing that gives validity to Adler's theory, though, is like how your parents treat you and how your parents raise you. And I feel like the reason why that has validity for the differing age groups is that, like, well, with your first kid, people have the tendency to be a little bit overprotective because you don't know what you can get away with and you don't know what will kill them.
That's
so
true. Yes.
You just want to make sure that they're not doing anything wrong. Whereas by the time you've had 2 or 3 or 4 more kids, like you kind of know that like, if they eat dirt, like, they're not gonna die, it's gonna be okay, you know?
It seems likely. Yeah.
So I feel like with like younger kids being spoiled, like you gotta take with a grain of salt because I'm an oldest kid, but I would say that's kind of true because like by the time my parents got their like last 4 kids, like all bets are off. Like they do things that I look at them and I'm like, I would never have gotten away with that if I were.
Well, actually, that's a good segue. Let's go to this as our last question here too. In terms of like curfews and the rules, for your younger siblings, are the rules different than for the oldest siblings? We don't need to go into a lot of detail, but what do we think? We'll go around.
My little sister doesn't really do much, so I can't say that she has like really like a curfew.
She hasn't gotten a lot.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, she's definitely in her like very hormonal phase right now, and so she's giving my mom like a lot of attitude and stuff, and my mom is just like, I don't know what to do. Like I feel like you guys weren't that bad, but like I just got to keep going through it, I guess. So.
Children are all joy and no fun.
Yeah. So.
No, that's good.
Yeah, and then I mean, my older sister, like, and brother, they're older now. Like, they're like 21, almost 22. So.
But that is old.
Yeah, that's old. So they don't really have many rules left.
Okay. Zach, are the rules different for your younger brother?
I don't think my brother like stays out late the way that I did at his age, but he does act out. He does act up at least in class if he thinks like the teacher's being unjust or something, which is not something I would ever have done. So I guess just the fact that he thinks that's like acceptable.
I find that hard to believe that.
Okay.
The rules were definitely different for me, which my siblings would say. So yeah, and I won't go into it any further than that. Ashley, do you feel the rules are different for your younger siblings?
Oh yeah, definitely. But also I feel like my parents, they specify the rules for each individual kid. They really try to like make sure that they're focusing on what each kid needs because all of us are very, very different, you know, and like like the same kind of punishments don't work for all of us. Like I remember with my youngest sister, we would always get basically opposite punishments because we're like opposite people.
Sure.
Like they would take away my books and force me to go outside and play when I was grounded, and they would, you know, lock her in a room, be like, you have 2 options, you can read or you can write. I'm like, switch us.
Yeah, no, my parents would always threaten me also. Well, they wouldn't threaten me, but I was beaten as a child. No, they would say, Mark, put that book down and come watch television with the family. And so my kids, I tell them that today because my children were raised without television. And they're like, oh my gosh. Well, were the rules different or? Because you guys are so close, maybe.
Yeah, I don't really think so. I mean, me and my sister are just so different.
Okay.
Maybe growing up, punishments were a little bit different. I mean, I would definitely say I was like swatted more than she was. I also was more of a pain than my sister was though too. I mean, she followed the rules, I didn't. But I don't think so. I think we're just, me and her are just kind of different, and different rules that apply more to, you know what I mean? Like I think the rules apply different, or certain rules apply more differently to her than to me, and vice versa, kind of thing. So I don't really think so. I think they're pretty fair.
Okay. And Maddy, you get the last word.
I think my parents were just burnt out of trying to like control us by the time like I started like being problematic. So yeah, because I remember like senior year, I was like, okay, my curfew's like 2 a.m. now, right? And they were like, no, and I was like, yes.
And then it was.
And then they're like, okay. And then I just kind of was like, you don't need to worry about me. If I'm not home by 2 a.m., you'll get a text or something like that.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, just because like they had bigger fish to fry with my brother.
That's what I say with my children too. If you're out late or you're not going to be able to make it home, just text me so I know.
So they were pretty chill.
Well, I hope your parents and your siblings leave comments, but I think everyone else should feel free to. And what is everyone else supposed to do too? You're supposed to
Like
and subscribe.
And hit the little bell icon for notifications.
So thank you for joining us for our discussion of birth order, and have a great day.
Bye.
Outstanding. Very good. Thanks, guys.
Now they're all on camera laughing about child abuse.